Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you so much for agreeing to meet with me today.
Oh, yeah, it's my pleasure. Yeah, thank
Very
you for
nice.
having me.
Very nice to see you.
Yeah, and you. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know what we're going to talk about. I tend to
Just the best way.
I tend to just turn up and in my heart I kind of feel like I'm just kind of giving it over to spirit or life and letting it unfold. Yeah. I looked at your website after we arranged this meeting and I read your biography. And I just felt like it was so beautiful reading. Just like whatever words you chose to put there was very down to earth or something. I felt very down to earth was what came. Like I just feel like you're so natural, and I just like reading that. I just felt like I fell in love with you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I feel like where I'm coming from is really down to earth. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's and my message really is to say that, yeah, this is it, this down to earth, so familiar knowing that we all know. It's not like you have to go up on a mountain and sit in a cave or, it's so here and available and known and familiar.
And do you feel like it's kind of just when you kind of stop fighting against life in a way, like and stop kind of overlaying like what we want, like what the mind wants from life, so you're just kind of allowing everything to just be as it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's here anyway, even if we don't allow.
Yeah.
I mean, or think that we don't allow, because of course,
Yeah.
who are we to think that we could not allow something in life? But yeah, of course, it's also about consciously living this. So it's this that we are is always here. It's always present, but most of the time we're living from the thinking, assuming that the thinking is true and that I know and what I think about myself and my identity, that's running the show. Right?
Yeah.
So yes, when we see our thoughts for what they are, that they're just thoughts,
yeah,
then we're left with not knowing. And that's it, right?
Yeah. And then just kind of, I suppose, admitting to ourselves that we don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And it sounds so simple. I mean, it is so simple. But it seems that it's complicated for the thinking.
Yeah.
When I think, when I ask myself from thinking how to do this, then it seems all very complicated. But actually, it's so easy to not know, right?
Yeah, I feel like not knowing, it's more of a admitting. It's like admitting that we don't know. It's not like you're a new thing or something. It's just like we're pretending that we know.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly the thing. We're pretending. We're pretending. Yeah. Yeah. And we got so used to pretending that we think that the pretense is real.
Yeah. And do you feel like that's like an ongoing thing, so you can say that now and maybe you can say it often, like any time, and like it feels true, like you just don't know. But do you feel that the mind continues to come and pretend it knows, and somehow like it's just like it's not like something that happens and then it's done?
No.
Do you find that it's a kind of like maybe in one particular story, like it's harder to let go of feeling we know or something. I don't know if you want to say something.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some people have one experience where, it seems to all fall away, but even then it creeps back in, or, the experience changes and fades, and then the old patterns come back in. There's usually a thinking that I've lost something now because the experience has changed. But in my experience, and for many people that I've been working with over the years, that it's very a gradual falling away of more and more, or seeing through more and more, and that there's no end. Yeah. It's a kind of endless breaking open, or falling apart. Yeah, and the thinking, some of those old mechanisms are probably going to be around for the rest of my life or everybody's lives, because they are set up at a young age and they're there to protect. And so they think that they're doing a very good job to protect this human, and sometimes they are. And so they have a good intention. Those thoughts. And if we can just see them for what they are, that they are protection mechanisms, like little children that are trying to survive, trying to be okay. And in seeing them for what they are, we don't take them to be who I am, who my true nature is. Then I'm aware of them. And there's always freedom from them or with them.
Even if something is showing up that feels kind of like a challenge, and you kind of know that it's just I don't know, I kind of use the word, it's conditioning. So maybe like a group of beliefs or something, and you can feel them, and maybe it doesn't feel good, and you're, but still there's a kind of a deeper knowing that all of that it's just playing out and it's okay.
Yes, absolutely. And there's also a kind of, can be like a curiosity that comes from that knowing. Curiosity, like what is this mechanism? So it's no longer like coming from that seeking energy where I need to fix myself in order to be free. Because the freedom is always here. So then these mechanisms are like, oh, that's curious, let's have a look at that, with no expectation that it will mean anything about me or my state. And out of that gentle curiosity, sometimes these mechanisms can unravel more and be seen through more and more clearly. But there's no need for it to be seen through. And that takes the pressure off.
I think what comes up here sometimes is like, I can see that. And then I think the longer you're kind of in this kind of curiosity and all different ideas can kind of seep in, and maybe sometimes you find yourself like, actually, I've been believing an idea without even really recognizing that I was believing an idea. Like more and more kind of subtle. So this doesn't sound subtle now, probably when I say it, but this idea was coming in that like, just like I really want to be free of conditioning, and I feel like even that, it's not really in alignment with the truth in our heart. And I think the same, like it can play out in a certain way, like let's say the way you say you're looking at mechanisms, you said. So you're looking at mechanisms, but you're looking at it from freedom, let's say. But it could, I don't know, maybe it's not like that. I was going to say, like, so it doesn't really matter how it looks in the life, but like it's more about, we just have to be kind of in tune with our heart and check in with how true or something that we're being in ourselves.
Because if you're checking with how you're behaving and your reactions, and then you're looking at your reactions and saying, oh, well, I'm still believing in that conditioning or mechanism or whatever. And then therefore that means that I'm not free yet. Then we get in trouble. Then we're like endlessly trying to fix our actions, and then I looking at our beliefs with the hope that one day I'll be free from all of my conditioning. Then I can come home to myself and then truly deeply relax. And this just keeps us like endlessly on that wheel. But if we acknowledge that our true nature is already freedom, no matter what happens in the life of this human, then there's like it's like the ultimate forgiveness for everything that this human does or says or feels. It's the unconditional love for this human, including all the mess. And this brings such deep relaxation for the human. I can be a mess. I can react and go from all my old mechanisms, and it still doesn't touch the love that I am.
I feel like that really came true somehow when I read your biography, or it triggered something like just that sense that literally everything that shows up is freedom in a way. So it's not about how it feels, or even how it looks or how it sounds. Because, my friend called me the other day and I was saying, oh yeah, I'm so stressed. And I felt like, there's just like a really deep peace with being stressed. Even like, it's okay. I don't have to look a certain way. I don't have to, it's just like totally okay.
Whereas often people have this idea that if I'm stressed, that means, I shouldn't be so stressed now because I should be more aware and more awake, and I shouldn't have these experiences, as if the experience means something about me. So we're still connecting the experience of stress to my identity, and this link between the experience and my identity, that is what feeds the idea of a separate me. So if we cut that link, so then stress doesn't mean anything about me. It's just stress. It's just what's happening now. It's not even stress. It's just like this sensation, this experience, right? And it has no connection to my identity.
No. And what you're saying, all that, so all that experience, stress, and all challenges, all the different things that can appear in life, and then there's who we are. And then I don't know if you speak like this in your teaching, but some teachers do, about embodying the truth. Is that idea valid or not valid?
Well, I mean, what I'm saying about this unconditional love that loves it all just the way it is can be taken as a mental concept, as an excuse to just to react or to do anything to anybody else, because I'm not that, right? So then it's the ultimate excuse for anything as a mental concept. But if we really know it beyond a mental concept, then it's not an excuse to not be in the body.
No.
It's because there's still that curiosity about this human. What is she? What is she? Who is she? How is she? This human. What's going on here? And once I recognize my true nature as that freedom, then what? Then there's only the human. Then I'm left with this human body and what's happening for her.
it's kind of mysterious, isn't it? Like in a way that, like the human can behave in a way that's kind of seemingly not loving. And also at the same time, like you're feeling like that you are love. So then it's like, well, how can how can it be like this? It's like, so then you really want to, or like I feel like this, I don't know if I'm confused in this way of thinking, but like you do feel like if I see myself behaving in an unloving way towards anybody, then like, yeah, like you kind of reflect upon it and see like, how is this happening? Or I don't know, some kind of curiosity comes in.
Yes, it becomes an opportunity.
Yeah.
An opportunity to see myself,
to
explore myself in more depth.
Yeah.
So it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Because then everything becomes an opportunity to know myself. And there's deeper curiosity.
So do you think you can know yourself like deeper and deeper and deeper all the time through I could just stop the question there, but like the next part is like through that curiosity, through kind of bringing the recognition into all the different aspects of the human?
Absolutely, yeah. So it seems that the path of this, the living of this, or the embodiment of this recognition, is that there's that knowing that is known beyond it all, and then because there's that ultimate forgiveness or inclusion of everything that goes on for the human can more and more relax into just being the human mess that I am. So it's all okay. And then in that okayness, there are the reactions or the unloving moments here and there and the conflicts or whatever. They arise and it's okay. And there's the curiosity and through that curiosity and unconditional love and okayness, that holds the human in such love and care that there's space for that clarity and that deepening to happen naturally by itself. That combination of it's okay for you to be like this forever, a human mess forever. You never need to clean it up. And I love to look. What is this? And so it's not about trying to change your behaviors, but to out of curiosity, looking at the source of, what is the belief there? What identity am I still somehow subtly believing in that is then causing my reaction? Am I afraid that I'm going to lose something or some position or something that I think that I have? And then when we admit and look into that and feel into maybe the fear or the loss or the grief or whatever is there and really feel it, maybe it means having a release or a big cry or some physical release. It might then affect your future interactions with people, but that's like a side effect.
Yeah.
It's got to be, more looking at it from the root.
Yeah, and it's almost like just a kind of a natural thing. It feels like it's just a natural feeling that. I think there's so many different kind of spiritual teachings, and really in a way they're all, well, they might not all be, but many of them are the same in that they have the like self-recognition at the core. But somehow, like when we're in the world and we're hearing all the different spiritual teachings, they can be kind of confusing. Because I feel like the way that you're speaking, which I really like as well, it's like you're just the words that I use somehow is like you're just the truth of who you are. And then whatever else arises within that, it's allowed and it's okay. and it's embraced and loved and all of that. But then there's also another way that I'm kind of familiar with as well. And it's like that all of that would be seen as ego or something, and then ego and the truth of who you are two different things or something. And I don't know, it doesn't feel as, I don't know if that way feels as good, because it feels like you've got work to do. You've got stuff to do, like, or something.
Yes, as if the ego is wrong. Right? That's the bad stuff, and you need to clean it up and make it love, make it pure. You can call these mechanisms ego, although that word just jars with me a bit, because immediately I hear it as, oh, ego, that's bad.
Yeah.
So I prefer to use words like mechanisms, or even conditioning as a bad rap as well.
Yeah.
We're so quick to put a judgment on these things. And that's the nature of the thinking, that it does judge. And even the word love can be misunderstood, of course. But to just see that it's all included. Even if we use the word ego, okay, so ego is still, it's all part of it. In a sense, we need a certain amount of ego to be in the world. If we can keep coming from that curiosity, or that unconditional holding of it all, and then the curiosity, okay, looking, what is this ego protecting? Who is this me, or this ego? And we see through it again and again.
And I'm just kind of saying this out loud. I don't know. But like, I don't think it really even matters, and also it's immeasurable. But like the amount of ego that someone has, like, it's kind of completely irrelevant, especially if you're looking from freedom, let's say. Because some people express in the world, it could be anyone, it could be a teacher, or it could be just anybody at all. Like, they could be expressing, or they could be seen to have very little ego. And even if you ask them, they're saying, no, really, like, nothing's happened. Like, just feel so good all the time, no problems. And some people express like that. And maybe it is like that for them. I don't know. But what comes here sometimes, like, it can kind of bring me into my mind, like, really, like, I really don't believe them, because it's not like the same as what's here. But then I have to just kind of let go of that, and then really, like, the counteractive thought, I suppose, is like that it really doesn't really matter. Like, the important thing is that we're recognizing who we truly are. And like you say, like, we don't have to get rid of, like, this mess. It's like life is an opportunity for us to, it's almost like, I often feel like, in life we think that we're learning about our divinity, but actually everything is like all back to front, and actually we're learning how to be human.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And we start off on the spiritual path thinking, chasing divinity. And then having small experiences of that and thinking, wow, yes, I've got it. But it's just a joke, really, because we're always beyond birth, we are that divinity. And yes, we're here with, to learn how to be this human, how to live as divinity in the world, with all the challenges of our daily life, with what's going on in the world, or what touches us moment to moment. In my situation, as a parent, how to live that divinity that I am, but as this human single mother, of a 6-year-old son. And of course, like, there's all kinds of stuff that comes up on a regular basis.
This is what I wanted to talk to you about as well, because I know also I have a 5-year-old. So it's almost like there's like one challenge and then like that's over, and then there's another challenge, something like, and then another one. And also sometimes also I see myself behaving in kind of unloving or like fearful ways as well. And it's like, oh no, I'm going to like traumatize my son. No, I don't have that as a big thought.
I feel like next to spiritual teachers, mothers have so much. There are so many expectations on mothers, maybe parents in general, but I say particularly mothers, because somehow the socially acceptable kind of dream mother, the ideal mother, is some kind of saint, always loving and caring and self-sacrificing.
Yeah.
And of course, we can never live up to that image.
No. No.
We're never going to be good enough.
Yeah.
And so we can really beat ourselves up as parents.
Yeah.
Because, of course, we're human still, and we can't always be there in the full capacity that we would ideally like ourselves to be.
Yeah.
We're tired, or we've got other stuff going on. There's some emotional stuff, or we're busy with our own lives, and then our child is calling our attention, or whatever it is. Yeah. And so I feel like this unconditional love that we've been pointing to, we've been talking about, we really are. As a mother, I really discover how this is lived through unconditionally loving this mother.
Yeah, it has to start with you, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Because she's a mess, and sometimes she just reacts, or just had enough of whatever it is, or and I just try with my son to just be as honest as possible. So sometimes, if I'm feeling a bit grumpy, so I'll actually, I might kind of have a little kind of grumpy reaction to, and then I'll say to him, oh, I'm sorry, I'm feeling just a bit grumpy today, and I'm tired and grumpy, and that's just grumpy mama. And then he learns also from that it's all okay. He learns, and he takes what how I'm living my own grumpiness. So hopefully that will also support his emotions.
And I also find, if I behave in a particular way towards my son, but then if I like apologize and I say like that it doesn't have anything to do with him, and it's just because I'm like feeling whatever I'm feeling, and like I apologize, I just feel like that's so good. And I feel like I definitely didn't get that from my parents, and maybe that's a bigger thing than actually just being perfect all the time. And that's unrealistic anyway.
Because otherwise it teaches our children that they have to be perfect. If they apparently have a perfect mum, then what's wrong with, then they'll be growing up with this same old thing of, what's wrong with me? I'm not perfect. Which we've all grown up with, right? I mean, in different forms. And so if they see that their parents are not perfect themselves, then what freedom it gives them to not be perfect, to just be who they are.
I think that's probably a big part of spirituality, like as well, what you said, just about being honest. And of course, first honest with yourself. So it's not that you always have to express it to the people around you, but particularly with your children, I do feel like it's very good, because I kind of remember like being a child, and you kind of know, like we feel what's going on between people. We might not be able to put words on it, but we can feel it, like all of us can, child or adult. And if it's not addressed, then you just kind of get left feeling like something's not right or something. It's so weird. It's like people are pretending everything's okay, but it's not, or something.
And then often we turn it back on ourselves and think, well, I obviously was wrong there. I didn't,
Yeah.
certainly how I was when I was a child. I just was assuming that there was something wrong with me when I could feel that there was not something a bit, a bit off in the situation around me. Yeah.
So I wonder, in your retreats and in your kind of satsang, what kind of way do you share? Like, are you pointing people towards this unconditional love, or are people usually familiar already with this aspect of themselves and then kind of just allowing like more inclusivity of all of life?
I feel like it goes together. It always goes together. You can't really separate out.
Yeah.
And say, well, now they know this bit, so I'm just going to focus on that bit, because we always, in a way, because they need reminders. Even if you've apparently recognized your true nature as that unconditional love, as we've been talking, all these old mechanisms can still be here. So in my retreats, I'm always speaking from and as that we truly are, and meeting people where they're at with it, with this exploration. So that's why the retreats or meetings are for any, in a way, level, if we're using that word level, but it's for someone who's fresh on this path, or for someone who's been on the path for years, because I'm always pointing as this unconditional love, but at the same time we explore these mechanisms from that curiosity, and we, by holding those two aspects simultaneously, this brings a lot of freedom and space. And also when we are talking it out together, in holding it in that energy, it provides a lot of clarity.
Yeah. And is there anything that you could share, let's say, as a practical tool or something for someone who might be listening? If someone, the way sometimes we kind of get caught up in, let's say, identity, or we get caught up in a particular story, and even though we know all of this, we're somehow not able to access it. We know it, and it's important that we know it, I feel like, and it does bring a bit of peace. But somehow, sometimes it can just feel a bit like, inside, like the way it feels like. So just knowing it is not like enough to kind of maybe loosen the identity or something.
Yes, I understand. Yeah, well, first of all, seeing that identity is playing in the thinking, so the thought story is going on. But then at the same time, there is a whole lot of physical sensations also going on. So it's like, if you've gone deep sea diving or something. So at first, before you go under the water, you've got all the thinking, right, telling the story. But if you go deep sea diving under the water to the physical sensations, then there's, it's what's happening right now. There might be a sensation in the chest or a tightness in the belly, or and that is always the anchor to the present moment. So the thought story is going in all directions, right? But the sensation is just here now. It might be uncomfortable. So we often are wanting to avoid bringing attention to the physical sensation, because the thought story is much more compelling, but also it's a way of avoiding feeling the discomfort of the sensation. But if we have the courage in the moment, and we can remember to bring the attention out of the thinking into what is going on physically right now.
Mm.
Feeling the sensation in the belly or the chest or whatever it is.
Mm.
And just staying with that. Even if the thinking wants to jump back in, yes, but blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
Again, bringing the sensation under the water, into the depths of the sensations, the world of the sensations. And it might mean doing that a few times, until slowly the story might have some space in between the words, more and more, and you can see more clearly, okay, this is just a story, and the sensation itself is what is true here right now. And the sensation doesn't have to change. There's that unconditional love of that sensation. There's even the unconditional love of the thought story. But when we're really believing that thought story, then we're just believing the thought story, and we're in that story, right? Yeah. But the sensation is just, it's innocent. It's just like the animal, it's just the animal. This is what's happening for this human animal right now. It's afraid, or it's sad, or it's concerned. There's some excitement there in the belly, or and it's of course beyond all of the words. It's just sensation felt. No need to put any labels on it.
Sometimes I have the kind of sense like that everything that comes up, it's like an opportunity to kind of make peace with it. So when you're talking there and if you're just really tuned into the feeling, because I think sometimes we can get the idea, even if we're doing that, we can be like, yeah, I'm going to tune into the feeling, but it's so that it will go. Because some things can feel so like uncomfortable, like you say, or just hard to be with. So it can be difficult for us to really make peace with it. Like, so you're not asking for it to go or anything. But when you're really looking, you are making peace, isn't it? If you're looking without any interpretation at all, including I need it to change, or
without any hope.
Yeah, without any hope.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds terrible, but it must be without any hope. And it's also not a hopelessness. It's not a negative, kind of depressing thing, but that hope that one day it will change, or that if I keep my attention on this sensation, that will make it go away. It just prolongs the whole dream. It stays. You stay in this kind of chasing and making a lot of effort. So if we lose hope and we're just in a kind of surrender to what is, even if it kills me, even if this sensation is so uncomfortable that it kills me, this is what's here. There's no escape. So there's just no escape from this sensation. I mean, the escape would be to go back into the thinking, into the story. That's why we're spinning with the story, because we're trying to escape the sensation. So it seems to require some courage to come out of the story and to the sensation, and to no longer try to escape it.
And maybe that kind of, the more we do that type of thing, the recognition also that the mind and thoughts, they really don't lead to peace. So when we really kind of recognize that at some level, then that gives the kind of motivation, you could say, to not want to keep going back to the mind, because it's the natural thing.
And you see with experience of staying with the sensations, that it's not going to kill you. At first it must be like, even if it kills me, you stay with it forever. Even if I have to lie down here and just like burn up with it. But after a while you say, oh, actually it's all right. It was quite intense for a while, but it didn't kill me. So then this also gives motivation to do this again, because you know you can do it. You survived.
Yeah. So this just popped into my head. So this is like completely different now what I'm going to say, but I read a quote from this book that I have here. It's like a contemplative living book. It's really nice. But I read today's one, and it was about kind of praise for God, and somehow we naturally want to praise God when I'm just changing the words, but like the essence of it was we naturally want to praise God when we're, let's say, in that unconditional love, when we recognize our true nature. It somehow is natural that we want to praise God like all the time. So I wonder if you'd like to say something about your experience of that, or how you feel or think about that.
When you use the words praise God, I assume you mean like live in joy, or
yeah. So I suppose it can be different for everyone. It probably depends how we think about it. It depends how we think about it. So this was it's like a Christian book. I don't know if you know Father Thomas Keating. So it was his words. No. So he is praise God. But, I think often the word God is used for that, what you call unconditional love.
Yeah.
Or just like everything, so to just, it could be joy, or I don't know. I wonder how you experience that, or it could be, I suppose it could be just gratitude, or it could come out in different ways.
Living in alignment with that unconditional love, so living it and experiencing it and expressing it and living as that. And as we were saying earlier, it's a natural thing. So if I'm trying to praise God or be joyful or loving, then it comes from a concept again. So and an identity and an effort. But the more I see that I'm not my thinking, the more lightness there is, and the more ease there is naturally, without making anything mean anything. But we can have these conditioned mechanisms that suppress joy and love in our human experience. I know certainly, like in the English conditioning, for example, if you're too expressive, then this is kind of considered a bit like distasteful or something. So to kind of feel into that one and to acknowledge, it's okay. I can let that one go, and I can express it. It won't kill me, and even if people around me think that that's a bit weird, that's okay. And also in playing, and again, being a parent of a young child can be very supportive in that way, because he's constantly inviting me to play. It's this gratitude and love and play, it comes in all kinds of areas of my life that is unexpected. Just last night, looking at the full moon on the roof here, I'm filled with an experience of absolute openness, and I mean, it's beyond words even. I am the moon as I look at it. There's no me separate from anything.
So it's not like you have to praise God as something apart from it. It's more just like an experience of love and joy.
And it may not be all the time.
Of course.
As we've been saying, but I'm welcome to be the mess as well. But even that curiosity that we've been talking about, that comes from that same praising God. It's coming from coming from love.
Mm.
So the curiosity with even the discomfort or the mess is, unconditional love.
Yeah.
God living as this mess.
Yeah. Do you feel like it seems like a natural thing or something that life wants the human to experience more love? And that's where like when we're not experiencing it, kind of curiosity comes in, and just kind of looking closer and allowing ourselves to really deeply feel whatever is happening. It's just kind of a natural growth or something.
Yeah, it feels a bit like nature, like a flower, opens and opens.
Yeah.
It feels like that the natural movement in the timeline of life is to want to open to yourself.
Yeah.
There are the opposite forces, of course, as well, the fear and all of that, but still the love of opening through that and with that. It's nature.
Yeah.
So no effort required there.
Yeah.
Just to surrender to what is.
Yeah. That's a nice image, the flower opening, because I feel like it can really feel like that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so easy as well. Like the flower doesn't try to open.
No.
It's just, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we can really kind of understand that, as an analogy when we point to nature, like it's so natural for a flower to bloom, or all the different things, the different phases in our lives, like the way the leaves fall off the trees and then they grow again, like the tree is not saying anything about it.
Yeah. And that every phase in our lives is absolutely perfect. I mean, beyond the concept of perfection, but that even if we're going through a challenging phase, that too, is part of this opening and opening. My husband died about 4 years ago, and that was an incredibly challenging time for me, and continues to be in many ways. But I really see it as part of that opening and opening, and that endless opening and opening.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you would like to share or express before we finish today?
Well, it's just lovely to be here and to be with you and whoever's listening.
Thank you. I feel like you really share that love that you are just through your expression, and that's really exactly what I want to do through this podcast. So I hope that people can somehow feel that love and be inspired to live from there ever and ever deeper.
Yes, and I feel that with you also. Yeah, it's beautiful how you hold this podcast and this conversation. Thank you so much for it.
Yeah, so thank you so much for your time. I wish you a beautiful day with your son in Portugal.
Thank you, and you.